My Outlook Days, Part 1, written by Vinod Mehta. My multiple professional weaknesses notwithstanding, supreme among them an inability to play the dirty game of office interview, I had one competence which was special, if not unique. I could conceive and create all types of publications from the drawing board to the hawker stage. Someone called me the ultimate launchman of Indian publishing. The only other editor who came close to me in this respect was M.J. Akbar. Despite the dark clouds choking my career, I survived on this single hope. Someone, somewhere, planning to start a new print publication would need me. Alas, even then, with the ominous march of 24-hour news television, print was being talked about in the past tense. Unsurprisingly, 1994 was annus horribilis for me. In January the following year, I got a call from Deepak Shauri, whom I had known since the time he was posted in Bombay as a senior manager in Cadbury. I also knew Deepak's father, associated with the NGO Common Cause, and his elder brother Arun Shauri. Deepak and I could not be described as close or casual friends. We were simply acquaintances. Deepak suggested we meet for lunch. So we went to the India International Center. What I heard from him arrived like divine intervention. An industrialist in Bombay had decided to promote a new magazine to take on the formidable India Today. His name was Rajan Raheja. Deepak, already the president and publisher of the enterprise, wanted to know if I was interested. I replied, yes, 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 with the speed of an AK 47. To make sure Deepak did not change his mind, I paid for the lunch. A meeting between me and Rajan Raheja was arranged. Mr. Raheja came from a family of builders, top of the line builders. However, he quickly abandoned the family trade and turned himself into a conventional industrialist. He acquired Exide batteries, bought over H&R Johnson, set up a cement plant in Madhya Pradesh, and got involved in other medium-sized ventures. Why he wanted to get into publishing was a mystery, one I did not try to solve. In 1995, the general interest magazine scene was dominated by a giant called India Today. The publication enjoyed the status the United States did after the fall of the Soviet Union, a superpower in a unipolar world. To characterize India Today as successful would be like calling Sachin Tendulkar successful. The established newspaper houses, notably the Times of India and the Hindustan Times, had seriously considered taking on India Today but gave up the idea on advice from media gurus and research agencies. After 20 years of shining existence, India Today was impossible to challenge. This was the conventional and unconventional wisdom. When Rajan Raheja, with no publishing experience and by no means deep pockets, decided to enter the field, India Today stood like the Taj Mahal. To a friend who met the owner of India Today, Arun Puri, and asked him how he felt about a possible competitor, Arun mockingly replied, "Can't you see I am shivering in my boots?" His sarcasm was justified. As I got ready to meet my new proprietor, I had no difficult decisions to make. Even if I had to wipe his shoes, I would accept the offer if offered. So, beholden for another chance, I planned to ask no questions, seek no clarifications, put forward no demands, or set any terms. I listened to Rajan and Deepak outline the plans. A fortnightly news magazine identical to India Today is what they had in mind. My contribution to the discussion consisted of noises like great idea. I made only one tentative suggestion. I was in no position to do anything more than that. Why? I asked. A fortnightly? Why not a weekly? We would then not be playing to our competitors' strengths. We would be setting the agenda so that the competitor was forced to play to our strengths. Rajan thought it was an eminently sensible suggestion. Having just edited 3 newspapers in a row, a fortnightly was guaranteed to put me to sleep. I didn't tell Rajan about my personal interest in a weekly. To Deepak's flamboyance, Rajan Raheja's understated disposition seemed the ideal combo. Questions like editorial freedom did not arise for me as far as Rajan was concerned. Deepak, anyway, assumed he would perform a critical role in editorial policy and decision making. To his credit, he was quite open about being my boss. On 2nd March 1995, Deepak and I moved into room number 102 of the crumbling ITDC Lodhi Road Hotel, now ceased to exist. The publisher had already registered the title Outlook. There was no disagreement over the name. In room number 102, my task was to assemble an editorial team while Deepak would put together the marketing team. I had to clear all editorial appointments with Deepak. Reluctantly, I accepted the arrangement, which caused some complications. Rajan Raheja's right hand man then was Shankar Narayanan. I got on extremely well with him. Deepak didn't. My search for staff found an unexpected catchment area. It turned out to be India Today. The kind of in house warfare and power play prevalent between editors there would make the BJP seem like a picture of cohesion and solidity. These warring journalists, some of the best in the country, desperate for a change, found a nesting ground at Outlook. I picked them up immediately. For all its manifest and daunting powers, India Today in 1995 was a fatigued magazine. The absence of competition meant the publication could get away with journalistic blunder. For instance, the concept of a fortnightly news magazine at a time when daily papers were feeling the heat from television in the area of news was an oxymoron. Yet, they managed to get away with it principally because of the Tina factor, that is, there is no alternative. It was quite normal for a cover story in the magazine to run into 25 pages. I was quietly confident we could take on India Today, more so since its management had dismissed us as pretenders to the throne. In fact, the expectation from their side was the Rahejas would soon run out of money and enthusiasm and quit the field. Alternatively, I would fight with the Rahejas and quit the field. Either way, they stood to benefit. Truth to tell, editing a news magazine did not send my pulse racing. I found the formula unexciting mostly because there was little scope for innovation. Time, the international Bible for news magazines, had defined and codified the elements a bona fide news magazine should contain. Wrapping up the week, that is, providing a summary and elaboration of the previous 7 days for the reader who, even though he occasionally watches TV news or picks up a newspaper, wishes to catch up with the week. Once that task was accomplished, a few tidbits could be added. Central to the formula stipulated by Henry Lewis, the founder editor of Time, was the cover story around which a constellation of smaller stories could be hung. Time and, to a lesser extent, Newsweek had firmly established what a news magazine would look and read like. I admired the professionalism of Time in executing the formula they themselves developed. However, it could and did get both tedious and predictable. I was especially opposed to the concept of a house style which ensured the magazine transmitted a tone of vapid uniformity. I was determined Outlook would be driven without a house style. We would let 1,000 flowers bloom. Since most design components were preordained, I did not feel the need to disturb my old pal, Mr. M.G. Mohiuddin. A rookie designer, Bishwadeep Moitra from Allahabad, came my way. I dinned into his head just one editorial instruction: no mimicry of Time. Instead, go against the model as far as possible. The thick red border around the cover, mandatory in Time, we jettisoned to begin with. Tearing up the Time design and devising something plausibly original had an added advantage. India today dogmatically followed time in letter and spirit. Outlook, which by necessity needed to appear fresh and different. The final result showed we achieved some success in what we set out to do. In April 1995, we moved to Safdarjung Enclave into a proper office. Rajan, Deepak, and I performed a havan in the new premises. Given the odds against us, we needed the gods on our side. By this time, the management had brought greater clarity into my relationship with the publisher. While we would cooperate and interact, editorial became strictly my domain. I would report to Rajan Raheja. By the time we moved to Safdarjung Enclave, the Outlook editorial team was in position. For a magazine trying to achieve the impossible, the masthead looked pretty impressive. Sandeepan Dev, who has also moved up, was plucked from Business Today and he joined as business editor. Prashant Panjiyar's unerring photo sense made him the ideal photo editor. Padmanand Jha, whose career was tragically cut short by a serious head injury, I roped in as political editor. Ajit Nainan, cartoonist and caricature par excellence, joined as chief cartoonist. As writers, Sagarika Ghosh, languishing and underutilized at the Times of India, Ajit Pillai, Anirudh Bahal, the mercurial Sunil Mehra, Krishna Prasad, Saira Menages became part of the fledgling team. On the desk, Sunil Menon and Manisha Sarup took charge. We were lucky to obtain the services of the former Foreign Secretary J.N. Dikshit as editorial consultant. He not only wrote regularly but also advised us on South Bloc and foreign policy matters. Altogether, I was more than satisfied with the quality and caliber of the journalists we had managed to assemble. As D-Day approached, I was painfully conscious that for the first issue I had to pull not one but perhaps two rabbits out of the hat. Since money for a lavish launch backed by extensive print and TV advertising was scarce, the content of the magazine had to double up as promotional material. At the morning conference, all of us scratched our heads, wondering how to detonate a couple of atom bombs in the launch issue. The state of Jammu and Kashmir in 1995 was normal. In other words, it was on the boil. In August, two blasts killed 40 people. 5 foreign tourists were abducted and one, a Norwegian named Christian Ostro, was discovered with hands and feet tied and head chopped off. The other 4 were still held hostage. Charar-e-Sharif, the historic shrine in Srinagar, was burnt down by militants and president's rule was extended. Opinion polls at the time were not as commonplace and devalued as they are today. I thought, why not conduct an opinion poll in the valley, an exercise never attempted before. We would get a feel of the mood in Srinagar and surrounding areas, and it would be controversial. We got in touch with MODE, a reputed polling agency, and asked if they would undertake the assignment. More important, did they have the wherewithal and guts to organize a poll in a toxic place? Initial feedback from the valley was discouraging. Anybody from Delhi asking delicate and sensitive questions concerning India and the state's accession to the Union was assumed to be an intelligence bureau spy. He or she would get a hot reception. Supposing we hired local staff to conduct the poll with a couple of supervisors sitting in a Srinagar hotel coordinating the whole exercise. Moreover, each pollster could be given an Outlook identity card. We also ensured female researchers were employed so that entry into homes and quizzing of women would be possible. Eventually, the poll was commissioned for the launch. Thank you for listening. Unsurprisingly, 1994 was Annus Horribilis. ANNUSHORRIBILS. Annus Horribilis means a year of disaster or misfortune. My search for staff found an unexpected catchment area. Catchment area means the area from which a city, service, or institution attracts a population that uses the services. More important, did they have the wherewithal and guts to organize a poll in a toxic place? Wherewithal means the money or other means needed for a particular purpose. Thank you very much.